welcome to the stage Neej Gore, Zeta's Chief Data Officer, Winnie Shen, SVP of the Data Cloud at Zeta, and Stephen Fitzgerald, VP, Digital Commerce and Distribution, G6 Hospitality.
Test, test. How's everyone doing today? Enjoying the day? All right. You're probably wondering, what the heck is Agile intelligence? And I promise we're going to get to that. But before we do, if you could call up the slides for me, please. I guess I call up the slides through this. You're all practitioners of marketing, and I'm curious by a show of hands as to how many of you have heard these questions within your organization. I don't have access to the data I need. I can't trust the data. I have access but lack the skills. The analytics tool my company provides me with are just not working for me. Let's see the hands. A lot. Basically all of you. I've been in marketing for 22 years, and this problem has existed since I started back in the early 2000s. So we're going to get to what Agile intelligence is and what it's all about. But the fundamental truth is that there's two competing things happening within marketing today. There's a cultural shift within organizations, which is basically to become data-driven, to make better decisions, to make decisions that are data-powered and based on actual data information you have. But marketers are consistently lacking the tools to explore, visualize, and act on the data within their organizations. And this could be data within their four walls. It could also be data outside of their four walls. This is a persistent and perpetual problem for almost every enterprise marketing organization in the world. And this is really what Agile intelligence has been created to solve. It's a concept that we invented at Zeta about 18 months ago, and we're finally putting it into production. You're going to hear later today and even see exactly how we've made that happen. So to define it, I'll read it out. It's a little bit small. Agile intelligence is technology that helps marketers visualize, explore, and take action on the most pressing business questions without depending on other departments such as IT or data science. This is the foundation of how you become smarter, faster, and better as an organization. And we're bringing all of this type of technology directly to our CDP, and you're going to see an example of that today. It's also one of the core pillars of digital transformation. Earlier today, we heard a lot about how businesses are transforming. This is one of the things you need to adopt within your organization. Make your marketers savvier, smarter, faster, so they can deliver better results. So we're going to take a look at what this means, and some of the types of questions you might want to answer in Agile Intelligence are ones that I've listed here. Where are the top geographies where you have opportunity to capture market share? Or things like, how much are your customers spending across different categories? These types of questions typically are very hard for a marketer to answer by themselves. They have to go to a business analyst, a data analyst, and they get put into some kind of Jira ticket queue, and a few weeks later they have an answer. By that time the data is expired. You need new data. So how do you actually overcome this in a way that's scalable and systematic for the organization? So I'd like to welcome to the stage Winnie Shen, an SVP on the Data Cloud team, and Steve Fitzgerald from G6 Hospitality. And you may be very familiar with G6, Studio 6, Motel 6.
Motel 6.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. And we're going to talk about some of the examples where we can bring Agile intelligence to life. And G6 has been an early adopter of our Agile intelligence solution. So we're going to actually take you through what that looks like and how they've been able to benefit from that equation. So let's get the conversation started.
Do I get a microphone, by the way?
Yes, right here.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. That's better. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to start off with the questions. And Stephen, if you could please tell me, what was the origin story between Zeta and G6? How did it come to life?
Sure. So we were actually working with a group of folks at a precursor company called Ignition One back since 2013. And a number of Ignition One folks came with the acquisition of some technology Zeta made about 3 years ago, I think. And I think what sealed the deal for us with being in the data world was we had to make a quick decision regarding a change of our primary agency, very quick call. And we had to move our entire customer database, millions of records over very quickly, 6 weeks, fantastic project. Zeta did a great job. We've been signing with those guys ever since.
Amazing. We're very happy to have you as a customer.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. What are some of the unique nuances to your business that are really different from other businesses? And what are some of the challenges you guys face day in and day out?
A bunch of, well, what happens is from time to time we find hotels don't actually leave the light on for you. So it's been most of them do. So actually, one of the interesting aspects from our business is we have a huge name recognition.
Yeah.
About 90% plus unaided name recognition for Motel 6 as an economy brand. But we have about 60% of our guests, almost 2/3 of our customers, just walk in our locations every night. We have 1,400 hotels off the freeways and interstates of the U.S., a lot of travelers, a lot of truck drivers, a lot of leisure travelers in the summertime, and they simply walk in. So 40% of our business we can capture through channels, 60%, almost 2/3, just walks in. And that's been a bit of a challenge.
That must be hard.
It's tough.
Absolutely. And those are some of those nuances that we really looked at when we're developing your Agile intelligence, because we wanted to help answer those key questions. The impetus we had talked about of actually developing Agile intelligence, I know, was come from your goals around the My6 membership. So wanting to grow that to 8 million in 2023. Can you talk to us a little bit about why the My6 program is different than others?
Yeah, so we're an economy brand. So loyalty programs are expensive for really anyone. They're expensive in the hospitality industry. So when you stay at a Hilton, as an example, or a Marriott or a Hyatt or a large brand like that, your stay costs that hotel anywhere between $5 to $15 a night to fund the points the chain pays you to be a loyalty program member. So it's very expensive. As a budget brand, and as a franchise brand like all of our competitors, we can't really impose that cost on the franchisee. So we've got to come up with different ways to get customers to join the program, different value program, different benefits to the customer without having to pay that loyalty fee. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, and that's going to be a great question that we're actually going to explore in the live demo in a little bit. But definitely wanting to understand, were there other key burning questions that you guys had that you haven't been able to answer yet?
We had a bunch, so it's crazy. So a lot of our customers traveled hundreds of miles to stay at our properties. Other ones travel 5 or 10. There's a lot of significant cluster of those. We're not sure what's going on there, but we have a lot of customers that consume the property from very close in, from distance-wise. Also, from a hotel standpoint, a lot of our properties get quite a few membership program customers. Some get none. We want to understand the arrival pattern. Which hotels have customers driving hundreds of miles? Which ones don't? If we want to expand the program, the My6 program, who do we market to? And then we have a cluster of hotels in California as an example. Where is their business coming from, and what's their member makeup for that group?
How are you doing this before you implemented some of the solutions with Zeta?
Badly.
Badly? Yeah. Excel, what were the tools that you were using typically?
We were Excel, survey, email, just
hodgepodge.
Fairly primitive tools.
Yeah, makes sense. And one question I have for you is, as data gets democratized across organizations, and you can think about Agile serving your marketing department, where are the other hooks where you're seeing value, and where can value be delivered?
Sure. So the thing I love about you pointed out earlier, so with Agile, our marketing team can get some pretty quick insights right away without having to wait for the analytics folks to come up with reporting or someone to run a report somewhere else or put some numbers together. That's huge. But we also have development. Where should our next properties be? We have My6 program people that drive that enrollment in that membership program. Where should they look next? We've got franchisees who want to perhaps buy additional properties. Where should they look for that? So there's a number of other departments that also can consume that data, which is helpful.
When you guys were kind of exploring, and Neej had asked about what you guys were doing before, when you wanted to kind of build out a solution, had you considered other vendors or partnerships that could actually build this out for you?
No, actually, you guys came to us with this. And basically, the deal was, if you did this and I appeared here and talked about it, I would get it forever, basically.
Yeah.
I think I get it forever for free were the words.
That was a one-time only deal. I'm sorry, folks.
Absolutely. And how important do you think it was that you were already integrated into our CDP?
Yeah, well, we already were giving you all of our data. So because we had all of our customer data with you, it was a logical place for you to be able to do a project like this because you've got it all already. There's no other inputs needed. It was helpful.
Absolutely.
One question I had was, you are a CDP customer of Zeta's. the importance of being able to act on the data quickly, not just visualize, explore, but then take steps to actually put it into motion. I assume that's something you guys struggled with before?
Yeah, there was obviously a translation delay while you're summarizing the data, while you're figuring out what it means, and talking to your various agencies about what to do with it. Yeah, sure, there was a quarter or two.
Can you tell us during the pandemic how consumer patterns might have shifted? Motel 6, I'm sure, was impacted.
Yeah. So we were very fortunate. So the entire hospitality industry was really in difficult shape from COVID. So if you were a big brand, a big box hotel, like most of the ones here in New York City, you went from literally 85, 90% occupancy to 10, if you were lucky. A lot of hotels shut down. It was a tough time. For the budget brands, the economy properties like Motel 6, we have truck drivers, traveling medical teams, construction crews, contracting companies, that type of business that needs to carry on to keep the lights on, basically, of the economy. So we were certainly negatively impacted, but not to the degree that most of the rest of the industry was.
How do you think about amenities for Motel 6s versus population density versus foot traffic? How do you decide what type of amenities to put into new locations?
Very simple. There are none.
Okay.
It's a very straightforward, very budget brand. No restaurant, typically, at the property. Sometimes you have a pool.
Yep.
You don't have bottled water. Typically, you got to bring that yourself. Shampoo, grab at Target on the way in. Very, very basic economy brand.
Makes a ton of
And
sense.
what that does is that keeps our costs down for our franchisees. That keeps the cost of the price down for the traveling public.
And is
So
the
there's a virtuous circle there.
is the brand around Studio 6 different than Motel 6? How is it similar and different?
Yeah, Studio 6 is for more of an extended stay. So the average stay at a Motel 6 is 2 or 3 nights, typically. At a Studio 6, it could be as long as 7 to 30 days. It has a kitchen area. It'll have a kitchen or a kitchenette. It'll have somewhere a cooktop, a fridge, a little bit more room to move around in. Yeah,
Sounds like that's where I should be staying.
there you go.
Next Zeta Live.
Call me,
All
I'll
right.
make a reservation.
Yeah, for sure I will. So I think we're going to pivot, unless
Yeah.
Winnie, you have any additional questions?
No more questions.
All right,
I
so-
think we want to go ahead and show everyone.
So feel free to provide commentary as Winnie goes through, but we're going to show you, they have graciously volunteered to let us show you from G6 their actual Agile Intelligence Suite, and we'll show you what it does, how they use it, and where the future of this product is really going for them. But again, it can really take on a number of use cases across customer, competitor, prospect, and market. These are the kinds of insights we can deliver through Agile Intelligence. So think about your own business needs and come talk to us after the session if there's something here interesting for you.
Yeah, so this is our dashboard. Hey, you have our dashboard on the screen. That's crazy.
That was part of
How
that
did you do that?
Exactly. This is exactly Motel 6's dashboard. Specifically, we actually broke this out for G6. You'll see it's natively embedded within our Zeta marketing platform. The reason for that is it has access to that first-party data directly within our CDP to be able to answer these key questions, and it's also linking you direct to activation. Those are key components that we see within Agile Intelligence. So we're going to start jumping right into Agile Intelligence. So here I'm going to kind of orient you across the dashboard itself. At the top, you'll see a couple of filters. I know for some of you guys in the back might be a little bit hard to see, but we have filters for the year, the quarter, the month. One of the key reasons for that is that GSID has questions about seasonality. So how can you compare and contrast that? Having filters for those are key. We're going to show you prospects, and we'll show you that in a little bit as well, which is kind of a unique thing that we're able to actually develop for G6 as well. Within here, you're also going to see a couple of filters. So we talked about the different brands under G6. So if we want to focus on Motel 6 versus Studio 6, we can see those insights separately, as well as being able to filter on a couple of, as we had talked about, amenities, or maybe the lack of amenities, that might actually impact some of the performance. So G6 has some hypotheses around having pools or truck parking might actually affect the performance, right? Awesome. And then below, you're going to see the actual key KPIs that we had talked to Steve and his team about. Unique customers, revenue-driven, average cost per night, all of those components. And you see very secure because it's trying to log me out. And within the actual dashboard itself, you're able to see the blue pinpoints are the actual Motel 6 locations. The red pinpoints are the Studio 6 locations. From here, we can do some exploration. So I'm going to show you how we're going to answer 4 key questions for G6, going back to that unique use case, the impetus of this conversation around the My 6 members versus those that are not. How can we find? Yeah, go ahead.
No, and well, you can see from the map that these properties, they're clearly on the interstates. I mean, you can see where the roads go by just the property location as it's laid out.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the key things that we wanted to look at is those that were My6 versus non-My6 customers. How can we find more of those My6 customers? A great way to look at it is looking at the existing My6 customers versus those that are not. What attributes are similar or different between those two groups? And then taking it a step further by looking at a property that has a high percentage of My6 customers versus a property that has a lower percentage of My6 members. So we're going to start with I'm going to click into Artesia, California. You're able to see that 42% of the bookings in 2022 were from My6 customers. Great number, great metric. I want to basically be able to see some metadata information. Steve and his team wanted to know, when did we open that location? How many people can they actually have there? And then we clicked into My6, and when I click on Activate, it takes us directly into our Audience Explorer. This is something that actually links directly to activation. So we basically pre-filter for the time range we're looking at, the My6 membership, as well as the property. We can add additional attributes from our data cloud to enrich the data, so looking at people that maybe are truck drivers or maybe people that are doing a road trip. Add that into here, directly activate this, but for this particular use case, we wanted to better understand these customers. So we saved that segment and then kicked off a customer pulse. We also did the same thing for the non-My6 visitors, and we also did the flip side where we looked at a location that had very few bookings from My6 members. Within here, we're then able to explore further. What are their enriched signals? What are we seeing different across the different groups? I'm just going to call out a couple of things within here. There's a lot of information. I'm just going to highlight a few of those components. We can compare and contrast the differences between the different groups. I see for the property that had a lot of My6 bookings, for those members that were not a My6 member, they're actually business travelers. They're also leisure travelers. So obviously that makes sense, right? The business travelers care less about actually using a discount. So how can we maybe partner with some of the companies that they're coming from to get them to actually sign up with a My6 program? If we look at some of their visitation patterns, and I've filtered specifically into other locations, other competitors that these individuals are going to, when I'm looking at a location that has low My6 member actual bookings, I'm actually seeing for those non-members, different unique competitors for each one of these groups. So that you can see that you need to competitively conquest from different brands depending on if you are not a My6 member, a non-My6 member, and also what location and property that you've booked at before. We can also look at information around the financial and household situation. I saw an interesting thing about people that recently were mortgage buyers tend to be My6 customers, so definitely looking to be economical there. And then we can also just find out information about where to reach those individuals. So if we want to send them a CTV campaign, what's the actual channel they're watching content on, and be able to target them across those mediums as well. So these are some of the key things that we pulled together to be able to answer those types of questions. Steve, anything that you'd want to add on?
It's pretty cool. I mean, there are other ways to do this, but through using the tool, you begin to understand a little bit how you can visualize various audiences you want to go after to enroll new members. So it's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's two things I want to call out here. So the first is, you've heard repeatedly at the conference this notion of making sophisticated marketing simple. So sophisticated marketing does not need to be complex. You need to empower the marketers to actually do the job and do it without dependencies. The second key thing here is the bringing together of the system of insight with the system of activation, all within one platform. That's the next big leap for marketing, and that's really a core thesis for Zeta as well. You heard Chris Momberg mention it earlier. It's delivered through the tools that we build in our data cloud division, and this is a very good example of how we bring system of insight together and couple it with system of activation.
Absolutely. And another key question that Steve mentioned earlier is around that booking. So most people are booking same day, they're showing up there. Maybe there's a way for us to find those people that are booking a little bit further out in advance.
That's huge. Yeah, our booking lead time is quite short. Actually, 85% of our bookings occur. Of the 40% who do book, that 85% of that group books the same day or no more than 1 day out. So we're really looking for customers who want to book 4 or 5 days out. That would be ideal.
Yep, absolutely. And the way that we look at that, tab over to time to booking, Look at the different sort filters. We've done 8+ days by default because ideally we want people booking out further in advance. And of course, this also has impact on your business in terms of making sure there's enough staff there, making sure that you have the rooms available for individuals as well. And we can do the same exercise we did earlier where we look at people booking far out in advance versus those who are booking same day, see what those differences are and be able to action off of that as well.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
I should pay more attention to you next time we're talking about this.
Another one that we thought was really interesting and looking at what the feeder markets are. So if we look at people, how far they're coming from home, as Steve had mentioned earlier, some people really close by, some people quite far away. You'll see that we can actually filter for different distances that people are coming from. So some people are coming from within 10 miles, but if we look at maybe people traveling quite far away, so 1,000+ miles away, we'll be able to see these locations are where people are traveling a significant distance from home. Let's say I want to click into Phoenix, Arizona. I can see within here, if I click on View Customers, it's going to actually show me where people are coming from. So you can see, as Steve had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people that locally are located, but as I kind of zoom out, you can see different pockets of areas. As I zoom in a little bit, you'll see some pockets down in Florida. We see some visitors coming in from New York as well. So these help identify what are the key markets that I might want to go after to get more people that are coming to my Arizona location. And the final question I'm going to try to help answer for you guys is something that David had talked about previously on one of our calls earlier, where we want to look for potential locations where we might want to open up new locations. What's unique about this view, I'm going to turn on the prospect view. I'm going to maybe look at average daily rates to see what locations have high rates. The key thing about the prospect information is what we're visualizing here is where people want to stay, not where they're actually coming from in terms of their home location. And as I zoom in maybe on like the Texas area, I can see by the green dots, and sorry for those in the back, a little bit harder to see, you'll be able to see where those prospect locations are currently. What we also have on here is the ability to layer on different competitor locations as well. So let me scroll down. We can layer on some of the key competitors and then identify those markets where we actually see pockets of prospects but not existing locations for both Motel 6 as well as some of those key competitors. So this is kind of a unique relationship where we've kind of developed and kind of grown from some of these direct marketing capabilities to more of the business side that's really making our partnership really strong.
It's great information. And I can't figure out why so many people want to go to Oklahoma, but there's got to be a good reason. So that's part of it.
This is a good example of how the Zeta Data Cloud enriches a customer's data as well. So all of the prospect data is the intent data that we synthesize from our graph, and then we're providing that enrichment back to G6 so that they can be smarter about how they acquire customers, how they build new locations. This is the tool to do it. So we have more developments planned in this tool in the coming year, not just for G6, but just generally. And again, we're really excited to share this at Zeta Live this year and continue the progress of it.
Absolutely. And what I would really mention in terms of how we were able to develop this is, of course, Gore was having the data readily available. We'd already been partnering together and doing some analysis that were kind of like one-off analysis. But then when we put our heads together, it made sense to develop this solution that answered a myriad of questions for a very diverse set of groups. I'll also say that I think it's as much of an art as it is a science to actually develop these answers, because of course, you can want a really strong analytics team to help you actually delve into the data. But if you can't present it and show it and make it easily digestible for a very diverse set of internal stakeholders, that's going to basically limit all the usability.
Yeah, that's really key. This did not emerge fully baked out of the box. This took a lot of iterative sessions between our teams to kind of drill down on what we wanted to see, what was missing, refinement, but the result is fantastic. The end product is something that we're super happy with.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. And I'll pass it back to Neej to close out.
Thanks, Winnie. That was a great demo, by the way. So two things. If we could return to the slides. One plug, we're going to do a session later today on data democratization. This is just one aspect of democratizing data across an organization. It's not just about access, but it's about usability and making that data and data literacy across your organization easy for someone to grasp. That's really one of the purposes here. The second thing I want to bring up here is the idea that I talked about before, which is that Agile intelligence is not just for the marketing organization. A big bet that we're making is that the CDP is going to proliferate across the entire enterprise in the next 5 years, right? The entire enterprise will be using the CDP to power different business functions, and Agile is a great wedge to get other areas of your enterprise to also start leveraging the data that's contained in your CDP. And we're really excited to be working on this with you, Stephen, so thank you very much. And any last words from you?
Oh, fantastic work. Thank you. You guys have been great partners.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, everyone.